Hello and welcome to the debate. I'm your host, Maqbool, with you at PTV World. In today's show, we will be taking a look at the top developments of the country, of course, what is going on with regards to the happenings in the aftermath of the arrest of the former Prime Minister and the PTI Chairman Imran Khan, after which a series of developments have taken place involving, of course, the Parliament, the military institutions and the courts as well. The incidents of May 9th are something that have been described by the Prime Minister and the top brass of the military as well as a black chapter in the history of the country. And indeed it was, in terms of the way that state institutions and the legacy of the founder of the country were targeted. And this is important in terms of what we're going to be talking about today as well, with regards to the kind of controversies and question marks that are being raised of the involvement of Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf. We have heard, of course, statements coming in from PMLN leaders, including Nawaz Sharif and Maryam Nawaz, pointing towards the kind of impartiality, the lack of impartiality that we have seen coming in from the courts towards the PTI chairman. And then, of course, with regards to the incidents of May 9th and drawing parallels with the kind of terrorist incidents that have taken place in the country, and that actions of these miscreants were no less than a non-state actor in the country. And of course, there have been lots of fingers that have been pointed out to the political party of Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf as well, and the PTI chairman, who on the other hand seems to be absolving himself from any sort of accountability or responsibility towards the incidents of May 9th, claiming instead that agencies' men were involved, and the fact that there were armed miscreants who were part of the protest and got involved while there was a reaction coming in from the PTI workers and protesters to the chairman's arrest. And this is something that was reiterated once again by the PTI chairman after he was released as well, saying that if he is to be put back in jail, then the reaction will no longer be in his control, and this is what is to be expected. So, of course, the kind of condemnation that one would hope to see and hear coming in from the party's chairman isn't there yet, but at the same time we can understand the kind of information that is being circulated around with regards to the investigation and the role of other elements within the protests as well. And it's important, of course, to see what the JIT is going to be bringing about. But what is substantial for now, of course, is reiterated by the Prime Minister as well, that anybody who is innocent will of course be spared, but anybody who is part of this particular pre-planned incident of May 9th is going to face consequences, as they should. So we're going to be talking a little bit more about this and what this means, and then of course the questions being raised with the effects of trying the miscreants in the military and anti-terrorism courts, and the impact that this can have on the PTI, and the questions and statements coming in with regards to rumors about the banning of PTI, which was earlier shunned by the defense minister as well, saying that that's not something that the PTM is going to go for. But of course it remains to be seen, and it seems that the PTM may be worried about that because they keep pointing towards that as the next step forward as well. At the same time, the PTI chairman in a video message has also spoken about his start of rallies across the country from tomorrow in Mareed-K, and said that he will be announcing his next plan of action tomorrow. So that of course also remains to be seen what it is. We'll be exploring all of this in further detail in our first segment. In our next one, we're going to take a look at the relationship between Pakistan and Oman, specifically also in light of the Chief of Army Staff's recent visit to the country, in terms of course, very important bilateral and defense engagements. This was an important visit. And then, of course, the way that this is going to further impact the relationship the two countries enjoy, and what sort of particular specific angles can we hope to be achieved out of this visit are going to be discussed further. For this and more, as always, in the studios, I've been joined by senior analyst Farrukh Pitafi. We've also been joined in the studios by political analyst Naveed Aman. Thank you very much for joining us. And we've been joined online for our first segment by Barrister Safi, Ghauri, who's a legal and political expert. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for being a part of the discussion. Let me start with you, Naveed Saab, with reference to what is being discussed, particularly in terms of Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf and the way that the actions seem to be pointing towards, the kind of developments that we are seeing. Even though this has been stated by the defense minister, there's no plans to ban the party, but at the same time we've been hearing parallels being drawn to non-state actors, to terrorists, and the fact that of course PTI is also responsible for whatever has happened. So how are the two then going to be navigated in terms of the consequence that this can or should have on any political party that is deemed to be part of such incidents or responsible for such actions?
Salah, in fact, PTI was very good addition in the politics of Pakistan when it was introduced long time before. But the way it was introduced, it was not the way of being introduced. The people, they were having very good hopes about Imran Khan and PTI, that the PTI and Imran Khan both will bring a good change in the country. But unfortunately, he disappointed everybody. Every person in the masses, or the establishment, or even the political arena, he disappointed everybody. Now, if we look at the rise and the fall of Imran Khan, we believe that Imran Khan has spoiled himself. He spoiled and he destroyed his party, this country, and his stature. And ultimately, he has disappointed the whole of the nation. Now, what has happened on May 9 is a black day, is very, very painful. And nobody can even think of it being Pakistani. We have experienced Altaf Hussaini in Sindh, in Hyderabad, in Karachi, long time, and what he has been doing there. Imran Khan has proved himself as the Altaf Hussain of Punjab. And the way Altaf Hussain has met his fate, in the same way, Imran Khan is now meeting his fate. But the party MQM is still there without MQM, without Altaf Hussain. PTI will be there, but without Imran Khan. Now, I don't think that PTI will be bearing baggage or the burden of Imran Khan any longer.
Okay.
The companions, the members of the party or the executive members, they are now going to distance from Imran Khan and the party. They are going to leave the party because they cannot bear that burden which Imran Khan has created for himself and the party. Because Imran Khan will face the consequences himself. I don't think the party will go in the elections under Imran Khan. There will be a couple of groups appearing in the party in the coming weeks. And I would say that this is the end of the PTI now.
Okay. Let's talk about that a bit more. Barrister Safi, with reference to what is being discussed and the impact that it's going to have on the PTI. First, in terms of responsibility, I want to understand when we talk about the fact that there needs to be justice, it's important, of course, to make sure that anybody who's innocent is also not targeted or is also not part of any investigation. In terms of the kind of arrests that are being made, or the fact that this is going to move now to military and anti-terrorism courts, and then of course there is an involvement of a political party as well, and there are going to be political elements as part of this too. So in terms of making sure that the justice is carried out and only those who are responsible have to face the consequences, how do you think all of this is going to play out, and how will we be able to distinguish between these variables?
A very interesting question, and we have to look at it from different angles. So at the moment, what we know for a fact is that these trials are going to take place in army courts. The army courts, the reason why army courts are being used is because Army Installation Act, and the Army Act gives a clear jurisdiction to the army courts in case any attack takes place on army property. And since the commander's house was vandalized, since one of the planes that belonged to our former fighter pilot was also burned, pictures of the Shuhada were burnt, because all of these things happened within cantonments. The Army Act is definitely there to stay. Now, you could, of course, have a very contentious debate as to whether the Army Act and whether the army courts should exist or not. But the fact remains that the most recent extension to army courts was given by PTI itself. And the reason why this extension was given by PTI was once again to hold trials against several political elements they thought were unsavory at that point of time. Now, let's jump straight to the issue of whether trials in army courts are fair or not. It is my opinion as a lawyer that they are fair trials. They use CRPC, they use Qanun-e-Shahadat, they use the relevant laws of the country. So innocent people do not get convicted necessarily. However, army courts are shunned and looked down upon because they do not fulfill the basic criteria of justice. Under Article 4, Article 10 of the Constitution of Pakistan, the right to a fair trial also encompasses the word transparent trial. And army courts are not transparent. In a normal court, you know where the court is, you can walk in, I can sit and watch a trial, you can sit and watch a trial. In an army court, we cannot. In an army court, a person can have a lawyer of their choice. A lawyer can go in, but the public cannot visit. Reporters cannot visit. They cannot see the conduct of the judges. They cannot see who the judge is. And as opposed to normal judicial systems where you know who the judge is, you can criticize the judge for who they are. An army court judge you would perhaps never know even the name of. You would not know the location of where the trial is being held. You would not know when the next dates are. These are not publicized. They're not cause lists in like in normal courts, which are hung outside, which you can go and view and see. And it is that lack of transparency that gives army courts a bad name. Once again, as a lawyer, I'm fully cognizant of the fact that army courts do not fulfill the constitutional requirements of what a fair trial is. However, Pakistan has for long used army courts. And in Pakistan's case, the fact that they are constitutional or unconstitutional has been raised before the Supreme Court many a times, and the Supreme Court has upheld the army courts. So by judicial verdicts, we know for a fact that army courts are legal. Their jurisprudential standing perhaps is a different debate. I am personally not at all worried about anyone undergoing unjust trials because, like I said, the basic criterias of how those trials are conducted are still given in Qanun Shahadat, are still given in the CRPC. Those laws are applied. People who exercise those laws do so in a relatively judicious manner, perhaps just as much as a court would be. The only real difference is they're much faster. That's really the only thing that we can watch
Okay,
out
and
for.
what about the political elements, and especially with regards to not just the individual who's being tried, but then the responsibility that also lies on perhaps the leaders or the party chairman? How will that play into this?
So this is one of the reasons why this is becoming contentious because in we've seen in the army courts leaders and members of proscribed organizations getting punished. So we have seen in the army courts trials of BLA, of TTP. This is one of those very few rare times that we are seeing terrorism, undoubtedly terrorism that has been conducted by a political party, but there is a political angle to it. And it is, of course, for the army courts to decide whether politics can in any manner trump the standard criminal law of Pakistan. If they feel that political fieriness should lead to suspension of the code of criminal procedure, they would probably do so. I think, of course, it should not. And once again, I want to clarify: they are not all being tried for terrorism. They are being tried for crimes of arson, crimes of vandalism, in within military properties. And so it's not necessary that we look at it as a very heinous crime for all. Some of them, of course, might be tried for terrorism, but in most cases, it's just going to be arson and vandalism.
All right. Farrukh, with regards to the way that this can have consequences on the PTI and in terms of questions being raised regarding the banning of the PTI as well, do you think that perhaps the threat is emanating from such actions or measures that can possibly be taken against the party or from within the party as well? We've also been hearing of at least two PTI leaders who have decided to quit and have announced their decision with regards to the incidents of May 9th as well. How do you think this entire situation and the incidents of May 9th in particular are affecting the party, and where is the threat coming from?
Right, Sana, and that is interesting. I usually don't want to rub it in, or I usually don't want to say I told you so. But humbly, if you remember, immediately after 9th May, when we had this show, pundits were talking about possibility of martial law. Pundits were talking about ban on PTI. By the way, we are not out of those boats either, but that hasn't happened yet, right? At that time, I kept on saying that actual challenge is going to come from within PTI, where you are going to see the squeeze, that people will start actually leaving the party. It began as a Tonga party, and it will end up as a Tonga party. This is exactly what is happening since past 3 days. And we have seen finally one by one people are actually quitting, and it is going to increase. By the way, yesterday Imran Khan Sahab was addressing parties ticket holders from Punjab, and he asked them to actually show their dedication and be ready for actually holding big jalsas. The word has it that many of those people are thinking about seeking a refund. The monies that are lying in Zaman Park, by the way, they are not in a bank. And somebody said, we have been told that it is to the tune of 1 billion or more, right? 1 billion rupees. But whatever the case, at this moment, I think that, I usually actually don't toot my own horn, but I thought that every pundit keeps on giving the bad, analysis all over the media. So I should say something about what was right and how it was proven. I've repeatedly told you, Sana, what works in this country and what doesn't work, right? Usually it is not a statement of principles. It is only a cold, analysis of what exactly is going on. For example, before, May 9th, there was this talk of brigadier's coup and colonel's coup. How many times did I say this in this program, that nothing of the sort has ever worked in this country or ever will, right? And whosoever is telling Imran Khan Sahab that there is this chance is actually asking him to jump into the precipice, right? Beyond the precipice. And this is exactly what has happened. It takes a strange kind of cognitive dissonance for a leader to in one breath say that we had nothing to do with May 9th and we did not ask people to go and use violence, and in the next breath threaten the state institutions with similar kind of consequences. Because if you have forgotten, Sana, May 9th was only a wider scale implementation of what we saw at Zaman Park few weeks ago, when police actually went there and they were attacked and they were thrashed by PTI supporters, right? So at this moment, again, this talk about army courts and army act, remember, as an institution, it is natural. I told you how much anger there is within the army right now. So it is natural for the institution to actually go for this kind of prosecution. But the question is, why is it that they have to actually rely on Army Act or Official Secrets Act, and then perhaps either anti-terrorism court or, for that matter, military courts? Because of the erosion of the Supreme Court of Pakistan's institution. And this is what I've been telling you. I don't have any personal grudge against Chief Justice of Pakistan. I'm a kind man, if he's a kind man also. I never disrespect any person, but the CJ has repeatedly proven that for his own politics within his bench, he will burn the entire country down. And that's why nobody is ready. Otherwise, checks and balances could have worked right at this moment. At this moment, remember that no matter what, till the time there is no emergency in the country, there is no martial law in this country, fundamental rights cannot be suspended. Yes, there is martial law, then it can happen, right? If fundamental rights are there, then there has to be a check and balance. And this is the problem that we have been seeing throughout our history. Two sides fight, one gets carried away, then that side is defeated, and then the other side, there is a possibility that it might get carried away also, right? So there has to be checks and balances. Similarly, the institution of President of Pakistan, just do one thing, go online, pull up all the statements he has made in past 1 year. All are concerning PTI. No sympathy for any other political party. That means that you have eroded the last office that could have provided any kind of relief to the PTI. And I keep on telling you how important it is to create a system of checks and balances where good people actually sit and they are beyond contention. the CJ is not beyond contention. Similarly, Imran Khan's decision to quit the parliament, had the PTI been sitting there, would they not have a voice there, effectively actually championing their rights? Now the problem is you have severed that link and you have made your party a pariah. Why would you do that? If you do it, actions are going to have consequences.
So I would add few words
yes,
to,
absolutely.
to Farrukh. One thing is that, yes, it was a Tonga party and it will end in a Tonga party, number one. Number two is, in Karachi and Hyderabad, Altaf Hussain led MQM. And MQM is now working in a better way, in better conditions, in better atmosphere without Altaf Hussain. Because Altaf Hussain became burden and baggage was not be taken by any MQM leader. Now, Imran Khan is again becoming a burden on PTI. And PTI will work without Imran Khan in a better way.
So does that mean there's going to be anything specifically targeted towards Imran Khan as a consequence?
Imran Khan will face the consequences of his doings and his cases.
But what possibly could those be? We've been seeing so many cases and we've seen what the courts have been doing with regards to those cases as well. So what is expected here?
But his cases now in the army courts will decide the fate of Imran Khan as well, number one. Number two is this, you would remember a few days back, the Chinese foreign minister visited Pakistan, and what he suggested Pakistani politicians. He said that Pakistan should take care of the political stability of the country. And the politicians should be having concern on the political matters as it should be in the current scenario. But the moment he left the country to China, Imran Khan stood up and he spoiled everything contradictory to his statement. What does it mean? It means that any good suggestion or good norm and value or advice doesn't suit Imran Khan. And he is always ready to spoil the political atmosphere of the country. And he is taking everything on the brink of disaster.
Right, and there's also, of course, the 24 hours that have been given to him and the party with regards to, by the Punjab government, with regards to a number of terrorists that they believe are being protected inside Zaman Park. What do you think is going to transpire once that time is up?
The time is up now. I don't think Imran Khan will cooperate or will learn anything from the situations. The situation is getting worse. But Imran Khan is not learning anything out of this situation.
Okay.
The politicians, they should sit down. They should have negotiations on the situation and handle the situation by themselves. The institution should not intervene or interfere in the political matters at any cost, like the CJ suggested the other day that the politicians should sit down and have discussions on
first he should sit down with his fellow judges.
But he himself is not ready to sit down with his companions and his fellow judges, and he is suggesting the politicians to sit down and have negotiations and settle down the political matters.
Right.
It doesn't work if you do other way and you suggest other way. It doesn't work.
Right.
And it did not work.
Usually that is called hypocrisy. So now will you allow me to actually answer your question regarding what Imran Khan Sahab or what it might mean regarding Imran Khan?
Okay.
This 24 hours, I can tell you how Imran Khan Sahab will behave and is behaving. He is a narcissist, so he has naturally taken attention to himself. And I don't know whether you have seen his video message that, get ready, they're coming for me and they will arrest me. Even though it is not about arresting him, it is about people who are fugitive and who might be hiding in the vicinity of Zaman Park or his home. So the action has to take place for those people who have actually attacked these buildings. But Imran Khan Sahab is telling you that it is about him or maybe his wife and nobody else.
Okay.
I don't think he cares about anybody else.
Now you just have a look on Imran Khan's statement and his behavior. He is calling his followers to come out and save him. And when they come out and try to save him or go for any sort of terrorism or miscreation, Imran Khan takes distance.
Absolutely.
He goes in the distance.
That's a valid point. But Barrister Safi, with regards to the PTI chairman also announcing again a next plan of action, and of course there have been so many deadlines and ultimatums and plans of actions that we have been hearing coming in from the PTI over the past year or so, it seems difficult to understand what possibly could be different or new about the situation. There's also simultaneously an emphasis on the fact that people need to exercise their right to a peaceful protest and make sure that they come out on the streets. But so much of that has already happened, and we've already seen the kind of ruckus that has been created. In such a scenario, what do you think could possibly be the next plan of action or an idea of it in the PTI chairman's mind? And also, how will this be able to move forward with regards to the sensitivity of the situation?
And I really how hilarious it is. The way PTI almost always seems to fall into the same trap over and over again. And this has been going on for years now. This is not a new thing. This is not this year. But if we were to look at just the proceedings of the last 1 year, we'd see that Imran Khan decided to quit the assemblies, quit from the National Assembly. Suddenly there was this huge ruckus all over PTI, them saying, oh, what a master stroke. Imran Khan, the genius, he's now going to get back the government. This is going to result in the end of PDM. I don't know why they thought that was a genius master stroke. Then he dissolved, knowing that this is not going further, he decided to create more chaos, dissolve the Punjab Assembly, dissolve the KPK Assembly. Once again, heavily applauded by his supporters. What a grand move, what a tactician, what a phenomenal strategist. And what is the strategist doing now? Hold up in Zaman Khan. At the end, every single time they lose. And they lose because his only strategy is destruction. There are only two things that he's ever said. One is a dharna, a long march. That's one element of his strategy. The other strategy that he has in the past propounded is a civil disobedience movement. Tear up the electricity bills, tear up the water bills, don't pay taxes. And he's obviously want to do that again because Pakistan is on an economic crisis. It's on the precipice of collapse. So he wants to just be a catalyst and as an agent of chaos, try and make that happen. I just find this whole thing really hilarious that his followers continue to think of him as smart, and they don't realize that every single move seems to get him deeper and deeper into the hole. And every single move results in more deaths of his own followers, more deaths and more harm to the state of Pakistan. That doesn't seem to matter. Right now, I think the only real concern I have is not Imran Khan, as Farrukh Pitafi Saab very rightly pointed out. My concern is the Supreme Court of Pakistan and the courts, and the fact that they are performing highly illegal acts. For instance, Imran Khan's blanket bail has been now extended to 31st May, which is a month. This is unheard of. I simply do not know. I'm a student of law. I am trying to wrap my head around it, and I'm unable to understand what jurisdiction the High Court has to allow them to give him a bail in cases that are not before them. It's a blanket bail, right? And I don't think there's anything in the law that allows any judge to give a relief to a party in a case that is not his own case. It has to be before some other court, and that other court then has to approve a bail. But somehow he's the only person in Pakistan who has ever gotten a blanket bail, and now that blanket bail has been extended for such a long period of time. Sometimes protective bails are given, but those protective bails are given for a day. And the idea of a protective bail is so that until the accused is produced before the next court, you're not allowed to arrest in any case or something of the sort, because the accused has shown their willingness to appear before a court. In this case, the accused keeps saying that he's not going to appear. Every day, even today, he said they are going to arrest me. Or when he was being produced before the Islamabad High Court, he said they are going to arrest me. Every single day, it's the same fear mongering. I'll hold a bucket over my head. They're going to kill me. They're going to arrest me. They're going to inject me. They're going to do some sort of sniping or a laser operation. And this paranoia seems to be gobbled up by all PTI supporters who just keep believing that this is in fact the truth, and every time they just come running out, I feel sorry for them. I really do, because they're the ones who then harm their own selves. I don't have any words. I wish that they wouldn't be as brainwashed as they are, but that's how cults work. We have seen countless examples of cults all over the world. I've, as of late, been forced to recollect this incident of James Jones, this gentleman from Jamaica who had close to 400 followers, and he had them all drink poison, and they all believed him, and they all thought that he was going to take them to heaven, and they all died, and it had little children. And I can't, help but see the parallels here. Sad state of affairs, Sana.
Right, absolutely. Thank you very much, Barrister Safi, for joining us and being a part of the debate. As always, of course, there's a lot of discussions around what is going to happen and what sort of impact that these measures are going to have on the country. But whatever it is that is going to pan out, especially in terms of justice, we hope for the best, and we hope that the consequences are only meted out to those who are responsible for this attack and, of course, the incidents of May 9th. We're now going to be talking a little bit about the Chief of Army Staff's visit to Oman recently and the way that the historic relationship between both the countries have evolved and the impact that this will have now moving forward as well, especially in the kind of a global economic crisis that the world is going through and the kind of security situation that also exists with respect to Afghanistan and in the region as well. For this, we've been joined by the Ambassador of Pakistan for Oman, Mr. Imran Ali Chaudhry. Thank you very much, Ambassador Saab, for joining us and taking the time out to be a part of the debate. Let me start with what really do you think is the essence of the relationship between Oman and Pakistan, and the way that you think that over the years this has evolved, and the areas that the relationship now needs to perhaps work more towards or enhance further for it to develop even more?
So it's basically been a relationship between two brotherly countries. It spans the defense fields, political cooperation, especially and also economic investment in the two countries, plus communications now. And so this visit, the visit of the Chief of Army Staff happened, it was a high-level visit which happened after a long, long time. And this was very helpful in further cementing the defense relationship.
Think will be the outcome with regards to the kind of tangible actions that we can hope for from this visit, particularly in defense cooperation and other bilateral trade relationship as well?
Trade was peripheral, but as far as the defense relationship is concerned, it's going to go a long way, because this was sort of a leap, because this time we discussed technology cooperation. There were certain items that our Omani brothers, they wanted. There was talk of training between the two countries, and more increase in naval cooperation. So basically, this was more in defense investment, in defense cooperation, and defense technology cooperation. And it spanned not only Oman, but parts of the Gulf and also China and Iran.
Right, and Ambassador Saab, we also know that the Chief of Army Staff also had a conversation with the Afghan Foreign Minister before he traveled to Oman as well. Of course, the kind of security situation that exists with reference to Afghanistan is important to us as well. Do you think that that also came up in the discussion, and there can be a role that can be played further by Oman?
It came up in discussion repeatedly. The Omani side wanted our view on what was going to happen in Afghanistan, and they shared our view that you cannot hope to see growth in the economy and in the humanitarian effort in Afghanistan if you keep on isolating them. So we were on the same page, and Oman is very good in back channel diplomacy, and they did this recently for Iran and Saudi Arabia with some other countries involved, and I'm sure they'd be willing to do the same vis-a-vis Afghanistan, with our help, of course. They recognize that we are the premier country near Afghanistan.
Right, absolutely. Ambassador, stay with us and I'll be back to you with more questions. Farrukh, with reference to, of course, the security situation both within the country and in the region as well, and the cooperation that we seem to be seeking from our regional partners, particularly with reference to Afghanistan, and in general also in terms of the security challenges the country faces. What do you think is the importance of the visit of the Chief of Army Staff and the kind of visits that he's had before as well since his appointment?
Right, Sana, I think that remember that usually we talk about diplomacy, which is actually consigned to civilian, sector or people who are part of the civilian side. But we have seen that of late, especially in the past 20 years, there has been military diplomacy, which has played a very crucial role. And not only the current army chief, but the chiefs actually who came before him also played very crucial role in expanding the country's ties and exploring more cooperation between countries, between our country and other countries, right? Afghanistan is something which is very important, and I think that what happened in Doha and then this visit also, and all the interactions as well, after that we have seen something very interesting transpire in Afghanistan. I'm not saying that there is a direct connection, but Afghanistan's Prime Minister today has changed, right? And there seems to be a possibility that Afghanistan may finally start conceding the points that it had actually agreed in principle in Afghanistan regarding human rights and other issues. If that happens, that would mean that Afghanistan's isolation can be ended. And if that happens, Pakistan will be one of the countries that are going to be ultimate beneficiaries. So Army Chief's visit may be to Oman. By the way, Oman, the Army Chief of Oman, his last name was very intriguing, Al-Balushi. Basically, they actually have migrated from Pakistan, and in Oman there is a sizable representation of Pakistani Baluch.
The name Al-Balushi is also because the part of Oman is called the Balochistan.
Yeah.
As the part of Iran is called Balochistan.
Yeah.
So the Baloch tribe is also there in Oman.
Right. Before that, actually, I was trying to end up establishing my personal connection that I am also Baloch. So there is some kind of connection.
I have been to Oman,
yeah.
Farrukh, I have been to Oman. I have visited in 2020. And I have seen that that is not Oman, which have been in 50 or 60 years back. Now it is very much developed Oman.
It is a great
and
country.
yes, and very peaceful and zero crime rate. Very, very cool and calm place to be visited. The economy is very strong. The military matters are, very, very blooming. So Pakistan has very good, strong ties with Oman, and I think there will be some very good breakthrough regarding Afghanistan as well.
All right.
We are hoping that we will be creating very good things for Afghanistan as the other countries are struggling, but Afghanistan and Afghans themselves are not trying to bring anything very good for themselves. You had experience, you have learned that the sanctions on the ladies, the girls, the schools, the workplaces, all goes against the Afghan nation and Afghanistan. Yeah. And they should learn lesson from this. They are living in 21st century, and this is not the way they can pull and bring their nation in the first world in such a way. So they need to be very, very calculative and should understand the ground realities of the region. As China has been mediating and asking for a very solid and cool and calm relationship between Pakistan and Afghanistan.
Absolutely.
Because of the CPAC. And Afghanistan can also get benefit out of the CPAC and learn many things and earn many things.
Absolutely. And that's going to be extremely important also in terms of the kind of collaboration that we hope to also achieve from our partners. Ambassador Zab, the dynamics of the world, of course, have changed a lot lately, especially in terms of the post-pandemic era, and then the kind of global challenges we face in terms of course, climate change issues or security concerns or even the global economic crises. And of course, Pakistan is also one of the countries who've been facing a lot of that crunch. What sort of a dynamic do you think can perhaps does now or can perhaps now exist between Pakistan and Oman in light of these challenges, and what new emerging role do you think the relationship can take?
Very interesting. There are 300,000 Pakistanis here and 100,000 approximately Balochis, referring to what was being discussed in the program. And on your point, in FATF, there was increased cooperation between Oman and Pakistan, and they sided with us despite pressure from other countries. As far as the global climatic change dynamics are concerned, they are concerned, but at this moment, there is no active cooperation between Pakistan and Oman on this. But this is something that we would traverse later after taking the initial steps in terms of multilateralism. The Omani side was very interested in the end to money laundering that Pakistan envisaged, and there was a lot of cooperation between the institutions of the two countries. So that's how far as multilateralism goes. We support each other in various draws multilaterally. So basically, other than massive economic investment between the two countries, both the countries seem to be doing very well.
Also, of course, the challenges of Islamophobia that the Islamic countries have been facing for quite some time, and Pakistan also took a lead in this at one point and talked about collaboration between the Muslim countries with regards to this. Do you think there's any development on that front?
They really appreciate Pakistan's leadership in this regard, and they've mentioned it many times. So they are inspired. They are inspired by us, just as we should be inspired by quiet diplomacy that Oman seems to be very good at.
I understand that foreign relations may be beyond this, but in terms of the kind of political crisis that Pakistan has been facing for quite some time now and the kind of uncertainties that we face back home, how much of an impact do you think that has on our relationship with countries like Oman, especially with regards to the way that international media also covers some of the incidents within the country?
They might not be bothered about the international media that much, but as brothers, they do express concern over the political instability in Pakistan. They don't let it come out in discussions, but members of the political and military elite have asked him many times, "Will all be okay?" So, as a brotherly country, it is concerned, and it does affect economic relations. Political instability will always affect economic relations.
Right. And Ambassador Saab, last question with regards to the kind of controversies that we've been hearing with regards to the Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf within the country as well, talking about any sort of challenges that the Chief of Army Staff faced on his visit to Oman or anything that he experienced which was not worthy of his stature. Did anything of that sort happen? Can you please clarify that for us so that our viewers can also learn from it?
I don't think it could have been. It was so preposterous. A slant which was given, I think, by a social media activist. It's not even worth. It was laughable. Actually, the visit transcended all previous visits in terms of welcome, although it might not be politically correct. But the fact that in every meeting they really were very respectful regarding the Chief of Army Staff being a Hafiz of the Quran, they mentioned it specifically. The dinner which was hosted in his honor by the Chief of Army Staff of Oman. It is said in Muscat that it has been better than any other dinners in terms of its welcome to the Chief of Army Staff that has happened before. The meetings were an all-time high. 9 meetings. We had very difficult time reaching venues. and some of the meetings could not be attended. The field regiments were visited. So it was the opposite. Actually, it was one of the most successful visits that I've had with an army chief, and I've had many in my diplomatic career. It was creme de la creme all the way.
All right. Thank you very much, Ambassador Saab, for taking the time out and joining us in the debate and for clarifying this for us. Farrukh, with reference to, of course, the Chief of Army Staff's visit and what has been happening within the country as well with regard to state institutions, and then, of course, the PTI's talk again of putting some sort of a spin around anything positive that is coming in terms of the development of our relationship with foreign countries or the way that the institutions are representing the country. What do you think can possibly be that line which can then eventually lead to damage that, or do you think that's already been crossed?
I think that PTI keeps on bulldozing everything. It is like proverbial bull in the china shop when it comes to foreign policy. The way they have, affected negatively or tried to do that, our foreign policy towards the US, even our brotherly countries, and even China. I mean, that is shameful. And the fact is, Sana, that when it comes to the current army chief, the only reason why PTI actually keeps on trying to attack him is because of one thing. And let me take you back to Harry Potter's world, where Dumbledore says that, every villain, fears their victim. It is because PTI deliberately kept on victimizing him and tried to block his appointment that now they are attacking him. But that doesn't mean that the man is not highly decorated soldier, that the man is also very gifted, when it comes to his credentials as the spy master also. He was very gifted there as well. And then in foreign policy also, because especially we are talking about the Arab world, right? His knowledge of Saudi Arabia and all these Muslim countries around it is also very, very important and useful. So I think that since he has taken over, he has gone to various countries, Saudi Arabia, UAE, China, and Pakistan got, especially because Pakistan is struggling with its economy's weaknesses, Pakistan got breather from all those countries. So this is the only party, I think, PTI, that tries to damage a friend of Pakistan, a hero of Pakistan, somebody who goes out of the way to do something for the country. And that is
one thing
Absolutely.
I want to
Yes,
add.
very quickly.
One thing I want to add quickly is that in two of the meetings with Imran Khan, he himself disclosed this one thing, that he idealizes Altaf Hussain as a politician, and he has followed Altaf Hussain as a politician. What we have been experiencing and observing in Karachi and Hyderabad, we have been observing now in Punjab.
Right, absolutely. And that goes to show a lot in terms of what has recently happened. But unfortunately, we're out of time. Thank you very much, Naveed Saab, for being part of the discussion. And thank you, Farrukh, for being part of the debate as always. That's all we have from the show. We'll see you tomorrow.